Good afternoon, Senator.
Good afternoon.
My questions today will focus on tax allocation districts, or TADs as they're sometimes referred to. The city has experience with about 10 TADs, 10 tax allocation districts right now.
Yes.
And while none have reached the ultimate success of retiring their bonds completely, some are doing very well, and others are lagging somewhat.
Yes.
My question is, what do you see as the benefits of TADs, and what concerns, if any, might you have about additional TADs?
Well, the primary benefit, in my judgment, is to have the private sector make capital investments in areas which would not typically receive it. And I also think that that's the appropriate distinction. I mean, the line and the judgment we have to make when administering TADs is that if we did not have the tax allocation district capability, what would happen to the community or area that we're trying to focus on? If that community or area, candidly, would do just as well without the use of tax allocation districts, I think we have to be very conservative and very prudent in terms of doing that. But my fundamental belief is that the tool of the TAD is to encourage investment in neighborhoods and communities which would not receive it but for the additional enhancement.
Okay, let me build off of that and raise a couple of concerns that I've heard from citizens around the city. First has to do with, earlier you mentioned the Beltline project.
Sure.
And the specifics of this concern have to do with the purchase of the Mason property. And it was a concern because the planning that was done was outside of the normal city planning bureau. The financing, the interest rates on the financing that was involved approached 12%. And the opinion of the Beltline Citizens Advisory Committee was largely ignored. Can you comment on that?
I can comment on it by saying that's not the way that I would approach it. I mean, the challenges that you had with the Mason acquisition, although it was a vital part of the Beltline opportunity, I don't think is the model that a new mayor would follow, and I'll be more specific, it's not the model that I would follow. What I believe in is the cornerstone of disclosure and cooperation with your community and with your city is disclosure. Constantly disclosing and letting everybody know exactly where we're going. I believe that with regard to the Mason property, because of the importance of that acquisition and the speed with which a lot of the activities around that acquisition had to be done, that we did not follow the path that I would follow as mayor. I would certainly give a great deal of deference for community input. I also believe that some form of community benefit agreements should be engaged in when you're having a conversation about the use of TADs. And I believe that agreements between neighborhoods and communities that are impacted by the Beltline or by the tax allocation districts have to be honored and enforced. And that's been the weakness that I have seen with TADs in the city of Atlanta.
Given the acknowledgement that there was some need for speed on this particular purchase, could you be more specific about how you would have done it differently than the way it was done?
I think the most significant difference would have been to work harder to gain consensus from the neighborhood and from the community that objected to the transaction. So that may have put the transaction at risk, candidly. I mean, I will tell you, it would have been very hard for me to make the decision to move forward with a purchase of that significance, with the interest rates at the level that they were, without the support of the community. And that's where the community ultimately came down. And what I'm saying is this. I believe sometimes you have to lock yourself in a room, and when you're the mayor, you need to do everything you can to persuade people of your vision. And I think in that instance, we did not. And if you're asking me what I believe, what I would have done differently, I would have put much more personal energy into trying to find a compromise with the neighborhood, because at the end of the day, the community has to live with it forever. and that's my style of leading. I had a mentor in college that had a big impact on me. At my school at Howard University, students used to like to take over the administration building. I mean, they loved to take over the administration building. And they used to demand that the president come out and meet their demands and all of this and all of the rest. And most of the presidents wouldn't meet with them. Well, we had a president, his name was Franklin G. Jennifer one day, and there were literally hundreds of people in the hall protesting. We had shut down the administration building. And Frank Jennifer said, we're going to meet right now, and let's all go meet right now. He said, I don't have but one condition. It has to be in chapel. So he walked over to the chapel. The chapel was packed, and I'm telling you, it was hot as any places I've ever been in. And from about 5 o'clock in the afternoon until about 1 o'clock in the morning, he negotiated face-to-face with the students at Howard University, and I've never seen, it was transformational. Now, you might say, what does that have to do with the TAD? It was instructive for me in terms of how to lead. And he did not walk away until there was some form of compromise, as hot as it was in that building. And I also learned another lesson. He wanted it to be in the chapel because he wanted people to stay respectful. Because we were dealing with tough issues, cafeteria food, tuition rates, and all of the rest. We're in another room, it could have spun out of control. And I'm just trying to give you some insight into how I would engage the community and how important the community would be to me.
So it sounds like that would be your number one priority, and all others would be secondary to that.
It would be, and yes, it would be.
Thank you. Another concern in the community with existing TADs was the use of TAD money to construct a new fire station in Atlantic Station. When we were having trouble maintaining staff and maintaining our existing fire stations. Could you comment on that decision?
Well, I will tell you that I would have probably sided with using TAD money to construct the fire station, as long as it was done in an open and honest and transparent way, with the public having time for input and for a discussion. I believe so strongly in public safety and in making sure that the people of Atlanta are safe that I probably would have sided with the construction of a fire building being an appropriate use, because I don't believe that a mayor has any more important job than keeping the citizens of Atlanta safe. So I just have to be straight with you there.
Thank you. Switch gears here for a minute and let's talk about potentially additional TADs. There is some community opposition when talk gets started about new TADs. And I'd like to focus on a couple of the specific reasons for the opposition. First one, and seems to be the biggest one, is this changing millage rate.
Okay.
The recent 45% increase in the millage rate created, for lack of a better word, a $6 million annual windfall in the existing 10 city TADs. My question is that right? And if it is, I mean, I know it's legal, but is it right? And if it is, how should that money be spent?
Well, the $3 million increase wasn't right, and no, that's not right. And the money should be spent candidly on public safety. That's what I believe it should be spent on, because the people of Atlanta, in my judgment, are not safe right now. I did not support the $3 million increase. I did not believe it was the appropriate approach, and I don't believe that anyone should receive a windfall because they have a tax allocation district as a result. I believe that we should find a way, whether it be through change of ordinance or change of state law, to redirect those dollars to keep the city of Atlanta safe. That is my #1 priority, period, in terms of being mayor.
Thank you.